Hey guys, welcome to the shop. Today I want to do a video. I don't see this done enough, and I see the wrong answers given or the wrong suggestions all the time on Facebook and forums and things like that on how to remove a flywheel on a Tecumseh engine. I mean, the latest one I saw was a guy had a picture of a gigantic 3-jaw puller on an old like H50 to 70 size engine, and it was really sad for me because it was a lighted flywheel or a 12 magnet flywheel for lighting or charging. Fins all busted off of it. You know, he's reaming on it with one of those 3-jaw pullers, and he's probably already warped it, so he's ruined the flywheel, and the flywheel is ruined. Next will be the crankshaft probably. But anyway, and even on that one, the same. You know, I see the same answers. Not one person, I don't think, on that particular thread said, "Well, just have you tried a flywheel knockoff tool?" It's in the book. It was one of the first things I learned. Get a service manual. This is the most important tool you can have in your arsenal, is a service manual for what you're working on. It can be hard to read sometimes, where you would think something might be in correlation in the book of what you're doing. It's not there. You might have to go to a different section, but it is well worth the price of admission. Yes, you can download these for free online. The problem with that can be sometimes if you're using a smartphone or something like that, it's hard to navigate, or it takes a while to load up, or you've got to find the right page. But even that, I still use that sometimes when I'm in the office looking something up. But as far as flywheel removal goes, it is in the book, and they even explain the tools to use, certain tools, and how to do it. There's a whole section here, and there's in big letters there, note, do not use a jaw type puller. Words to live by. Don't do it, people. But the tools they explain here, how to remove it. I'm not going to go into depth and read it verbatim, but it does give you the part numbers for the pieces or the tools you would need. It does give those, and it also explains, like, on certain applications there is another puller, which I've never had to use it. It's only for certain engines, and it explains which engines to use that on, which is the one with the screws that you thread down. It's kind of like a steering wheel puller, so to speak, or something like that. I have one here, but I've never needed it. You do see the 3 holes in some of these. Those aren't threaded though, and I've seen people thread them to try to pull it with a puller like that, and they go through and they screw something else up, or you're going to crack this flywheel. You should try the flywheel knockoff tool first. It's cheap, and it works really easy. I'm going to show you that here. Tecumseh made toolkits. This one's from the 70s. This cheesy looking box is actually a Tecumseh box. Some things didn't come with this kit that are in this kit, but I have like 4 Tecumseh service kits floating around here, but this is the one I use a lot. These has seal drivers and seal installers for various engines. They had a little more extensive one than this that covered everything at the time, but this one covers mainly some of the 2-strokes and up to, like, I think up to the medium, some of the medium frames. I only use a certain amount of tools out of here, but this is a knockoff tool, a flywheel knockoff tool, and there are 3 different ones. I think they actually had 4 total over all the years, but the 3 ones that most people are needing, actually only 2. One is the smaller thread, which is on the small frame engines up to 5 horsepower, the H and HS up to H35. and then HS40 and HS50s up to 1981, and then this would have been for the medium frames. They actually started at H40 in the early days, but H40 and up, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 horsepower. And then in 1981, they did up the crankshaft snout size and taper on even your H30s and H35s and HS40s and HS50s to this. So these two are good to have if you're working on these engines, the smaller ones. 670103 for this one, for the small taper, and then 670169 for the medium. Okay. And then another good tool to have is, because if you're taking your flywheel off and people screw them up before you ever even got to it, thread chasers help. Having the right size thread chaser, and thread files. Thread files are kind of handy. Some engines you won't be able to, like if you've taken it off and then the fins protrude, you can't get in there. But like these HS and H30, H small frames, you can get to them, and then you could maybe, you can kind of clean up those threads if you have to get the tool on easier. That's another thing with these tools. I kind of think of these as sacrificial. I have probably 5 of these around here. If one gets really screwed up, so I always have a spare that's in good shape. Like if the threads get really screwed up and I can't use the chaser to clean it up, or it's getting sloppy, I will just replace it. I found these for $10 shipped before. I haven't bought any in a while though, so I don't know the exact pricing, but you can buy fake ones. It's just you can see there's nothing to it. It's just got some heft. So they make some Chinese ones even, I think. The reason this sparked, like I said, was I was working on this engine. I just started to tear this one apart, and I found, you can see there's no snout. There's only like 3 or 4 threads. When I took it off, it just looked like that. So the Belleville was missing, and then the snout, it was like, there's like no, that's almost tight right there, and you can see that's what I saw. So after popping this off and looking at it, there's Loctite in there. So I've got to get with this customer before I even proceed any farther, because that's a major issue that we're going to have to figure out. But this one is okay. This is a 62. I just took off the shelf just for this video. I haven't taken it apart yet. And I chose this one because this is the lightest flywheel that you'll probably ever have to deal with. This is a 62, and 63 they changed to these. They're standard Tecumseh, but this is like either a Phelan or a Wico. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but this will be a lighter flywheel, so this will actually be harder for me to try to pop off there. And I'm doing that to show you that it's actually pretty easy to do with one of these tools, if that makes any sense. Okay. So the first thing I got to do is I've got to take this the cup off, and I use, and a lot of guys might start to cringe just because I have this in my hand, an impact gun to remove only, and I will use this to remove head bolts and almost everything actually. But never ever to install anything. This goes right back in the box at that point. Torque wrench has to come out to install everything. But the reason I like to use these is I come from the automotive industry. I was a technician for many years. You live with one of these in your hand for speed, but it also helps break things free a little better than just trying to wrench on something tight. If it's going to break, it's going to break. But you can actually, tweak the head. If it's got corrosion here, you might tweak that head before you bust everything free with a breaker bar or a socket, anything like that. where an impact is giving that hammering effect and that vibration is kind of breaking it free. The one scenario on a flywheel application where you definitely don't want to use an impact even to remove is something that would have needle bearings. Because the needle bearings, you know, with the vibrations and stuff, if you've got some sloppy needle bearings in there, something could get cockeyed in there, lock it up, mar it up. You don't want any problems like that if you can avoid it. So, but I'm okay with using impact guns to remove stuff. Like I said, I have had way better luck with especially old engines, getting things free without busting, you know, the head off or something. So it's worth a shot. But anyway, that's why this is here. I don't care what anybody says. So we got that off. Alright, so I'm going to turn this a little to the side. Again, this just threads on there. Just everything's got to be off there. This engine's in really good shape, so it's going to go real easy. There's no thread damage. But again, if you were to take that free, and you know, if this had been mushroomed from someone just hammering on it, or you know, cross-threaded up or something, that's the time when you want to see if you can fix those threads if you can. Run the thread chaser on it, get as clean as you can. But again, like I said, this one's super nice, especially for being as old as it is. Alright, so what's important on these is to get it threaded down as far as it'll go, and then sometimes on your later engines you might actually get it to bottom out, and if you do, you just back it off just a little bit. You just want a tiny little bit of space. And this one, these earlier engines, at least with this particular tool, I have a little bit of space. So I just want it, I mean, just so you can see, just a touch. You want as much meat on the threads. That helps keep the crankshaft in check. Plus, the force with the hammer is going to go fully into there when it's kind of tight. So you might see when you take engines apart, you'll see busted up fins. That's because people do things that are going to look like this. But what I'm doing, I'm not prying there. I'm going to take the screwdriver and make sure I'm putting it on the case, and I'm not doing a whole lot of force there. I'm just going to put a little bit of pressure on it. Don't try to pry there. Just give it a little bit of pressure. So if it does pop free, it's just going to help push it. Right. And now take your hammer, and I use a pretty heavy hammer. I'm not sure what this is, a 2 or 3 pound. And smack the hell out of it. Nice and straight if you can. Give it a real, you know, you might have to do it a couple times. But it pops right off. I mean, it's very simple. This is in good shape. You know, when you take one of these off, I don't know, let's see, even newer flywheels, this one does have a steel insert, so you want to look real good. You want to see that there aren't cracks. You know, your taper, you obviously want to lap your crankshaft to your flywheel when you're reassembling, but you want to look for heavy gouges, or if the key, you know, went wonky in there for some reason from someone not properly installing it. You know, and look around here for actual cracks or damage. I don't know if I got that on the camera that time, but anyway. And this is yeah, this is Phelan. This one's a Phelan, however you pronounce that. But that's how you remove the flywheel with one of these. And I will say again, I chose this one because that's a light flywheel. When you get into like a medium frame engine, like an H50, H60, H70, or anything bigger, and then when you get into like the mid-70s, when they started using the steel flywheels, they're 2 pounds heavier, plus they're solid steel. So when you give this thing a whack, they come off a lot easier. And the bigger threaded ones, they'll usually come off a lot easier too, where I don't have to use half the force that I just used to get that one off. So it's really quite simple. Like, again, that was like one of the harder ones for me to remove. And I know you might be saying, well, I'm sure he's had problems before, but honestly, when I use one of these, I have never had an issue unless there was a big issue already. Like this engine, I feel will be an issue because I know there's Loctite splooched in there heavy, and then, you know, and there's also no threads to work with. So that's why I won't touch that until I talk to the owner and say, you know, there's a chance this is going to get totally destroyed. So he needs to make the decision what he's going to want to do with this particular engine. So anyway, I hope that helps. Again, 670-103 for the small thread, and 670-169 for the larger thread. I highly, as much as I hate to help out a lot of people anymore because they're actually supposedly rebuilding engines for people, I guess that's the nicest way I can put that, and they're just screwing them up. I hate to see people that are just trying to even do maintenance or just trying to get parts apart, just ruining these pieces, because if you're in the mini bike world and you're looking for flywheels or crankshafts anymore, you have realized just how expensive those things have got. Like, even in the past year, standard HS40 32517 non-lighted flywheel, you know, $50 you used to be able to buy a brand new old stock one. That would be like high end, and that was only just last year or so. And now all of a sudden, you know, I'm seeing them sell for, I've seen one sell for almost $200, and I was like, this guy's nuts. And the next day, it's been marked as sold on eBay. So, you know, these parts are just sky high. Standard crankshafts, they're all NLA for these early tapers. You know, you can't fix some of these. So it's very important to use, you know, a $10 tool that's actually the easiest thing to use. It just makes sense. So that's my tip of the day. Have a great day.